Well, I want to ask you a question that I didn't send to you in advance. So
Okay.
if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But looking back now over these 11 years, what's had to shift in your mindset? And what do you think is true for most entrepreneurs? Where does their mindset need to shift if they're coming from the corporate world or coming out of a nonprofit or want to get into this entrepreneurial space and say, I think it's time that I become an entrepreneur. What's going to have to change in their mindset?
Ooh, such a great question. Number one is that no matter what, I have to call the shots at all times. Like I have to trust in myself. When you're in corporate, you have a boss, so they're going to dictate how you spend your time and what you do. And number two, you have a bigger team around you, especially when you're starting out as an entrepreneur. It's pretty lonely. It's just you. And what needed to switch for me was that I had to rely on myself. I had to fiercely show up for myself every single day. No one was going to tell me to get out of bed. I didn't have to be at any job at any specific time, but I had a business to run. So the shift was I had to fiercely show up for myself. And number two, it wasn't going to work without me. I couldn't rely on anybody in that moment. And having that confidence in myself over the years, it's gotten, of course, stronger and stronger. I feel as though I can do anything. I feel like I can rely on myself for anything. I didn't feel like that when I had a corporate job. So it definitely is a different kind of confidence.
So what happens to the person who says, I just don't feel like I can rely on myself? What would you say to them to begin to build that momentum that ultimately leads to that confidence?
The first thing I'd say is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to create your own thing? Be your own boss, call the shots, impact lives in the way you want to impact. Because for me, I left my corporate job, not because I wanted to change the world in the beginning. Now I feel that way, but it wasn't even because I wanted to impact thousands of lives. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but the truth is I left my corporate job because I didn't want to have a boss anymore. I didn't want to create for somebody else. I didn't want to build somebody else's dream. I didn't want to be on somebody else's hours, and I didn't want to hit that ceiling anymore of how much money I could make. So it was very selfish, and I don't mean that in a negative way, of why I wanted to do my own thing. And so when it got tough for me, when I made $267 and started to think maybe I have to go back to my job, I asked myself, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want to create your own thing? And at that point, it started to feel like, how bad do I want to make an impact for other people in the way I know I can? So I always had to come back to my why. And one more thing, when you say, what if they think like, I don't know if I have it in me? And I believe that we all, if we get clear on our why and we just tell ourselves, no matter how much I mess up, this is going to work. No matter how long it takes me, how many stumbles I have, I'm going to get to where I want to get to. There's no way you can fail. And so I think that's with everything in life, but I think it's a huge reminder that you have to tell yourself.